Hi, Jake. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. I'm super excited to talk about Prime Day prep.
It's my favorite thing to talk about. So I'm glad I'm
I
glad
know
you
it
called
is.
me.
I know it is. Before we get into it, can you give us a little background about your role and your experience, especially at Blue Whale over the last several years?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jake Smith. I am based out of Seattle, Washington. I've been with Blue Wheel coming up on 5 years at this point. And I've been within the Amazon ecosystem probably close to a decade. So, Prime Day is just what I eat, sleep, and breathe at this point in my life.
And golf.
And golf. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and golf. Yep. Yeah, if I'm not talking about Prime Day, I'm talking about golf.
Cool. So kicking it off, I want to talk first about the shift in kind of customer demand and how this year and how you think that's going to play into the upcoming Prime Day in June, right? Not even July.
Yeah, late June at this point, which I think has already posed a lot of its own challenges.
Oh,
And
really?
it's forcing us to shift budgets and have conversations and move a lot of timelines up. And I think it places an even heavier demand on making sure that your supply chain is in order and that you're fulfilling Amazon's POs if you're a vendor partner, or making sure you have proper inventory at Amazon right now if you operate in a 3P model. But I think what we've seen this year is just price sensitivity across the marketplace and the need for advertisers and brands to give information to consumers as to like why they can validate a purchase. And so I think with that price sensitivity, a lot of people are educating themselves a lot more and almost validating these purchases in a way. And then also waiting to purchase, at this point, Amazon's trained consumers to know when Prime Day is and to wait for Prime Day, because that's when, a lot of people will tend to stock up on certain
Right.
items. So it's just like, it's created a lot of pressures on non-evergreen period, well, and then increasing pressure on Prime Day as well.
Right. To make the most out of it because of people are waiting more.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So then on the advertising side, what do you do to counter that, right? So what do you, I guess, starting from the beginning, what are you prepping now with the media buying to then support what's coming up in June?
Yeah, I'm gonna, caveat this. I'm gonna think of this from like a beauty landscape, more premium CPG
Like,
frame of mind, in that when brands succeed on Prime Day, it's because they win on increasing the level of brand search coming during those events. I think what is unique about Amazon is that you have so many products compared right next to each other and prices are right there. And when you're on the search results page, you don't necessarily get a ton of product information right away. And
right.
so, you want to think about what things can I do right now to increase my brand search during the event, because that is when you're going to win. Generally, we see lower CPCs on our branded search, a lot higher conversion rates. And so, what we're doing right now is, if our brands already haven't figured out what items they want to have on promo, digging through AMC, figuring out what products, are most efficient acquiring new to brand, and then also starting to build up our awareness funnel, even now is, what spend can we pivot away from our low funnel conversion into building up brand awareness in these retargeting cohorts that we can go after.
Got it. So instead of trying to own the non-branded terms where people are kind of more in consideration during these moments, we're building up the awareness now, expecting it to return so that on during that week, we're increasing our bids on branded, knowing that they're going to be coming back to the pages and those CPCs will be naturally lower than the non-branded that are going to be pretty elevated during that time period anyways.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so like, for one of my brands that I work on, for example, the conversion rate differences on a branded search versus a non-branded search, anywhere from 4 to 6x during non-tentpole and tentpole moments. And
Oh, wow.
so it is, we do everything we can to increase branded search even in our non-Prime Day periods. But
Right.
for us to increase our brand search and increase our brand awareness and create that demand ahead of time, so when that day happens, we're able to pivot spend over to our low funnel conversion tactics, knowing that we've done all the work ahead of time when CPMs and CPCs are going to be lower in that non-brand consideration space.
Got it. So can you talk a little bit about how you're driving the awareness? Like, you mentioned AMC is obviously being a big piece of it. Obviously Amazon ads creating new ad units all the time and new audiences. What are things that have changed in your ability to get better as a media buyer over the last year as Amazon's continued to evolve their ad platform?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we can go. I'm gonna dig into two different pieces that I think are really important to understand if we think of Prime Day, if we just think of Prime Day. Um, the first one is using an AMC add-on called Flexible Shopping Insights. And what Flexible Shopping Insights does is it allows us to understand the organic interactions in between paid interactions. What AMC will only give you paid interactions. What Flexible Shopping Insights does is it helps us close the loop and understand organic interactions. And what we can dig out of that is cohorts of consumers that buy during evergreen periods and cohorts of consumers that only buy during tentpole moments. And so then you can create separate lead-in flows for these cohorts of consumers, because the people who are only buying during your promo periods most likely will require different frequency capping, different messaging than your non tentpole, promo buyers, we'll call them. And so that's really the first thing is like, let's understand who those consumers are. Can we build lookalike audiences off of them to expand our tentpole buyers? And then, it allows us to create, really synergistic creative strategies. The other thing that we're doing with AMC is getting a really clear path to purchase picture. And so what I mean by that is what ad units are people most likely to interact with and then convert in order. And so we start to scale spend in those ad units accordingly. So if, take DSP awareness, for example, streaming TV, Fire TV, feature rotator, stuff like that. Amazon's done a really great job of expanding those supply sources, securing really good deals with certain supply sources to that get us really, really efficient CPMs. And then, we sequentially retarget those people down, feeding them information about the products, giving them that information to justify the purchase on the day. And so when, when Prime Day 1 rolls around, they already know this is what I want to buy. And so then at that point, we're able to spread our budget out during the actual days of Prime Day of when we know people are going to purchase as well.
And then going back to the second point around the purchase behavior, again, whether that's existing or new, and I'm saying this out loud because I'm not in the ad platforms like you are, but basically we figure out the sequence that has the highest conversion rate, and maybe it's CTV first, and then it's a display ad, and then it's a search ad, and then it's a branded search, or whatever it might be. But you're setting up flows in the ad platform to say, start here. When they see it, enter them into this campaign, they flow through. Or is it just one campaign? I know I'm getting kind of technical right now.
So it's separate campaigns, and you can't say I want to move this specific consumer from one piece to another, but you back into it with proper budget allocation. And I think like that's where brands can start to bleed some money, is investing into ad units that don't translate into intent, like in the upper funnel. And so for one of our brands, we ran a streaming TV fight for them at the end of last year. And the conversion rate or the branded search rate differences that we saw for people who were exposed to a streaming TV ad versus not exposed to a streaming TV ad, exponential increases. And they're a higher price premium beauty brand. And so for us to win during these events, we wanted to do everything we could to increase our branded search. And so they saw a significant amount of branded search increase from the specific ad unit. And how we were able to figure that out is changing up the attribution model on streaming TV. And so what we did was we looked at the difference between last touch attribution and first touch attribution. So that's another way that we leveraged AMC and helped them quantify the success of this campaign, because we were able to look at the amount of purchases that came from first touch attribution, because Amazon works off a last touch attribution model. And so those conversions were getting attributed to other campaigns after they further interacted with them. And so I think if you're going to, after Prime Day, for example, if you want to understand the effectiveness of your lead in, you would want to look at first touch attribution versus last touch attribution on these upper funnel tactics.
Super smart. Okay. Um, that the thing that comes up a lot of times, there's two things that I hear from brands a lot is like, all right, well, how long on when I do upper funnel awareness campaigns, how long does it take to get the customer back into the funnel and converting, right? What's that wait time? And then the other part of it, to your point, is like, well, if I run these awareness campaigns and I'm only measuring CPM, how do I know that it makes a difference? And it sounds like through what you just said, you're able to solve both of those. We're actually able to see the customer through the entire funnel and measure the impact over a period of time, right?
Correct. Yeah. So what's really great with AMC is that we can see like essentially like time to purchase, like from first interaction to purchase. And then to your point, like, gone are the days of, with AMC now coming into really a critical moment with Amazon. Gone are the days of just like analyzing video completion rates and CPMs for your upper funnel and determining effectiveness. We can now see, directly how many, purchases those campaigns attributed. And so I think like that's made marketers' jobs a lot easier to justify the expenses of going up the funnel, because you're not going to see a really good ROAS, but it's really just painting my job is painting a complete picture of this was the customer journey. Here's how each tool aided that customer in purchasing.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Okay, so we've got an understanding of planning beforehand,
Yep.
the full funnel ad strategy, what we're doing within the ad campaigns during the event. What about other non-Amazon channels and how those channels support the growth of customer acquisition during those events?
Yeah. So we've seen brands really effectively leverage creators ahead of and during events. And so they can create demand for your products, letting people know that you're going to be on deal. We've also seen Amazon, really effectively reward external traffic that comes to the platform in the sense of it increasing its organic placement within category searches. And so, driving external traffic to Amazon during the event itself is something that, we would recommend. And, a lot of brand teams, say, well, I want to protect my D2C site. I think like what needs to be recognized is how powerful of a moment this is within the e-commerce ecosystem at this point, and that you can get, a really significant amount of new to brand customers in that you can then hold on to and convert elsewhere if you really want to. And so, one way that we've seen work really well, like I said, with, some more premium beauty brands is kind of that, that creator space, because it creates social proof. And, even with the changes in Rufus and Cosmo at this point, those two systems are really heavily rewarding social proof and the types of content and what people are searching for on Amazon. And so I would say, if you want to activate, I would start, reaching out sooner rather than later, because a lot of these creators that you're going to start working, that you would want to work with, are going to start getting product probably in April at this point.
Right. And those creators, they don't have to be the Amazon affiliate creators, right? They can be more traditional, whether that's a TikTok affiliate or Meta, doesn't really matter. You're advising that creator then to drive the traffic to Amazon, which during that moment, I'm sure they're all happy to do because they want it to succeed as much as the brand does.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think this really also relates back to how you manage your D2C site on, within Prime Day. And like, if you're trying to compete or trying to not compete, our recommendation would be to not try to compete, during Prime Day, because it's such a big, societal event at this point. And so we would, say for the creators, like, hey, let's, talk about how this is going to be on deal, the effects of the product, and like, why people should, if they're, considering switching a brand, why they would consider switching to your product over another.
Thanks, Jake.
Absolutely, Nicole. Thanks for having me on.